I know a lot of people are still enamored with Nick Fuentes, and I assume a lot of you saw that he had a collaboration with Joel Webbon. Now, I don't know Joel Webbon. I happen to know that he's a pastor in Texas. And I want to give you all an idea of where this, I would say he's a nationalist, is coming from. This is his statement prior to the conversation with Nick Fuentes. All right, I've picked up quite a few new followers, so I want to be completely forthright where I stand. Here are my views towards Israel. Diagnosis. I believe that by way of divine providence, that earth is filled with not only unique individual people, but unique and distinct peoples, nations, race, etc. I am not a fatalist or determinist. I believe people can change. I also believe peoples can change, but this happens slowly over the course of generations. I believe it is biblically permissible and in some cases even righteous. Colin, can't do this on my own. Thank you, sir. Since we are commanded to exercise godly discernment, to recognize for or notice different strengths and weaknesses of both individual people and collective peoples. Regarding collective peoples, this discernment should be understood as a viewpoint regarding generalities. There are always exceptions. In terms of general weaknesses, I believe those of European descent are generally marked by cowardice, moral passivity, and suicidal empathy. They regularly are content to prioritize the foreigner over even the welfare of their own children. Boomers, though not all boomers, have displayed this particular trait. Furthermore, I believe those of Jewish descent are generally marked by subversion, deceit, and greed. 4, politically speaking, I believe Israel has had a devastatingly negative influence on America. I do not want our children to fight their wars, and I do not want them lobbying in our politics or having an outsized influence on our culture. Number 5, religiously speaking, I believe that Judaism is antichrist. I believe it is a pernicious evil. I fully recognize that many Jews are secular and do not practice Judaism. However, just as many Americans today do not profess to be Christian, American was profoundly shaped by Christian thought and Christian values, so he says. Likewise, Israel has been deeply shaped by a religion that has as its foundation a complete rejection of Christ. A people shaped by a rejection of the logos. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Will have at least some degree of hostility towards God's natural order. They will resist, and at times even seek to subvert natural distinctions and hierarchy. This is liberalism, at least in its modern form. From the 20th century, liberalism is largely, although certainly not entirely, a Jewish project. Hence the anti-Jew message. The engine of liberalism is egalitarianism, the quest to flatten all natural distinctions, men and women, individuals, and even nations. I believe liberalism, especially modern liberalism, is arguably the single biggest threat to the world, particularly America and the church today. And I believe Israel is one of the most adamant proponents and defenders of liberalism. Again, to not make the distinction between liberalism and neoliberalism, to me, is deliberate on Mr. Weben's part, my opinion. Prescriptions. Number 1, I believe a godly Christian can hold all the views I mentioned above without sin. I firmly reject any ideology that would mistreat or persecute a people. I do not suppose those who would call for physical harm or violence to a particular people universally, everyone single on one of them, without fair trials and the objective proof of individual guilt of an actual crime, not merely sin. Those who follow me and Fed post about physically harming Jews are either Feds, bots, wicked, or retarded. You will be promptly blocked. Number 2, I want to see a national ban on pornography, exorbitant forms of usury that prey on the poor, and dual citizenship from any country for those who hold civil office in America. Reasonable. Number 3, I believe that many individual people and collective peoples would humanely self-deport. I further believe that these people groups would self-deport disproportionately. I believe Jews in America would leave at a higher rate than other groups, with many Jews who truly love our country and our values choosing to stay. That's an interesting distinction. I'll give them that one as well. Number 4, I want to see America break ties with Israel in terms of geopolitics. I do not believe they are our ally. So it's a mixed bag. But this is what Christian nationalism sounds like from a Southern pastor's perspective. Some is acceptable, some is clearly not. This is politics. You have to hear the good along with the bad. Joel Webbin sat down with Nick Fuentes, and they had some interesting conversation.
Like the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, gyrating in front of a man dressed up like Christ on a cross in a public parade. Believe it or not, jail. Right away, jail. Right. Would you agree with that?
I would. I think I would agree with that. And I think that it's interesting how people in this country have such an aversion to anything that looks or sounds like that. But you look at very modern countries in the Middle East, for example, like the United Arab Emirates. People go to Dubai, and this is a hotspot for the world's rich, for entertainers. And a lot of people go there who are pretty secular and pretty liberal. But everybody knows that when you go to Dubai or Riyadh, for that matter, or any of these Gulf countries, which are very wealthy, very modern, technologically sophisticated, and cosmopolitan even, everybody knows the rules. And the rules are you don't disrespect Islam. And the whole country abides by that. And there's laws governing public displays of affection, modesty, all kinds of things. And nobody seems to have a problem because they know they don't mess around there. They take their religion seriously. And when you land at that airport, everybody knows you got to play by those rules. And people seem to be okay with that. But for some reason in America, even the insinuation that you might have something like that for Christ, for the church, people say it's the handmaiden's tale. It's Gilead. This is regressive. What is this? The Middle Ages? And maybe I'm more liberal than you. I don't know what the penalties would be specifically, but I think certainly the government needs to enforce some level of morality. Within reason. And I think what you're talking about when you say the perpetual indulgence, these are deliberately subversive, morally subversive. There's no positive good where that could be defended.
So once again, as I've been trying to point out to you guys regarding Fuentes, he's very charismatic. It's understandable why a lot of people gravitate to him, but he is now playing into the role that we just saw a Zio billionaire play into, which is let's restrict some forms of free speech. Just a little taste. We're going to take a little taste away, you know? The only difference is that one person has a lot more money and influence than Fuentes currently does, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to get there. So you have high morality. Okay. Why is it your job to tell other people how to live? If you live a moral, conscious life, that should be enough. You know who doesn't talk like this, Nick Fuentes? Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is a very pious and moral person. He's not telling people how to live their lives. He's just telling people how he lives a moral life and he encourages everyone to do the same. You, on the other hand, are encouraging the rewriting of laws. This is what ends up happening when we are learning what's going to happen as the system continues to break itself apart. There are going to be people that are going to seek the opportunities of a lifetime to take money and power. And Fuentes is one of them. And if you think he will not attempt to rule with an iron fist, an absolute, just listen to what he's saying. Nuancing it carefully, maybe not carefully enough. But this idea that he's even hinting ever so slightly at a theocracy, fuck this shit. No way, no how. You either believe in the separation of church and state, or you do not believe in the First Amendment, much less the Constitution. And to me, when you talk like this, he's compensating, overcompensating for his own personal shortcomings. There is no disputing that. And anybody here who's a groyper, who thinks I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Or contradict what he's saying, because it seems pretty clear.
I don't know that I would outlaw, let's say, heresy, because there should be room for religious debate. It's like there always has been in the church or at different councils and things like that. But something that is deliberately and intentionally meant to blaspheme and offend God and the morals of any decent person, I don't think there's any basis for that. And so, of course, in America at the same time, we have a tradition of freedom of speech, but maybe we need to articulate what the basis of free speech is. Why is free speech good? If free speech is good insofar as we could debate about what form of government is best or what kind of society we should have, I'm willing to be more liberal when it comes to things like that. But filth, which it, like pornography, for example,
Right.
what action? That's not political speech.
No,
And I don't think there's anything positively good. I don't even actually consider it speech.
it's not religious speech either.
No.
Although I have seen some Jews say that both abortion and pornography are Jewish religious sacraments
Which
to
is
them.
interesting.
Very interesting.
So what you have here, which is another example of what ends up happening when you put all eggs in one basket, like assuming that all Jews practice usury, that all Jews support Israel, that all Jews are responsible for pornography. No, a lot of Jews are responsible for pornography that are within that industry. But assuming that this is how all Jews feel, again, this is the danger when somebody who clearly doesn't like Jews at all doesn't say anything redeemable about any of them. Candace Owens does, Tucker Carlson does, but Nick Fuentes doesn't. And he makes it very clear that there really isn't a distinction. Now, whether he truly believes that or not, it serves him well to just say it's the Jew problem. You know why? Because there are a lot of angry, frustrated, and scared people out there that don't know what to do at this point. Now, maybe they're not ready to take up arms. Maybe they're not ready to really fight back, whatever it is, but they feel some solace in listening to his wisdom talk about this. Because unlike other grifters out there, like Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, and especially Ben Shapiro, they like this guy. And they think he's fighting for their cause. And so what if we have to sprinkle in a little bigotry here and there, a little white supremacy here and there? As long as it's going to help me, then I'll take it. Nick is right about a number of key issues, and he's wrong about others. But the danger of a mixed bag is when the person in question wants that power. Anyone who has to get power should be wanting it or having to take it reluctantly, not even wanting it. Because trust me, you don't really want it. not when you understand the ramifications that have come with it. Now you'll see what Mamdani's going to have to go through, because now the saddle is on his back and people are looking at him for leadership, not AOC, despite what some of you online are saying. No, Mamdani is the person that a lot of people are gravitating to right now, because who else is there? And then, of course, you have Thomas Massey. But those are elected officials. When it comes to people in our medium that are using their platform for absolute good, how many of them are there? How many of them have a crystal clear understanding about what's going on right now and are not mincing words, not fucking around for even 5 seconds, understanding that every second we fuck around, another Palestinian baby gets their head blown off? Or now it's going to be the Venezuelans who are going to get it. How? There is nothing complicated about this at all, unless you're thinking about a career and money and power. That's it. Period. So when Mr. Fuentes says what he says, believe him. He's not lying. One thing I could say about Fuentes that I truly appreciate, truly do, and this is probably the one reason I cover him. He tells you exactly what he's thinking. He doesn't hide anything. He's nuanced and subtle about it, but he gives you the clues. It's right there for you to see. If you can grasp what he's saying, it's pretty clear. He has a little bit more to say about this issue.
So I tend to agree. I don't, like I said, I'm probably not as conservative when it comes to religious law as maybe you are, or some Protestants, or even for that matter, some traditional Catholics who say there should be no freedom of religion, which is, I think, what you're saying. But I certainly think that there should be some basic standards like they have in Russia or any other country.
So
I don't think Nick is going to kiss the wall, but I also don't trust him. And this is why you always have to take it with a grain of salt. So he made sure to parse his words very carefully at the end regarding whether or not he believes in a theology, in a theocratic system. Clearly, Pastor Webben does believe in that. That much is clear. But there's another element to this story, one more element to cover that's very important.
When Trump ran in 2016, he didn't say I'm the most conservative. He didn't say I'm the most right wing or the most Republican. He said I'm America first.
Right.
He said this is about globalism and nationalism, not liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans. It's about globalists, internationalists, and nationalists, people that want to put the American people first. And in his inaugural, that's where I got the name of my show. And just funny story, when I started my show with Right Side Broadcasting Network, they asked me what I wanted to call the show. And my first instinct was the Nicholas J. Fuentes Show. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, that's too long. No one knows who you are. No one knows your name. I was like, okay. They said, so you need something shorter, something different. And I really had no idea. A month later, Trump gave his inaugural. And in the inaugural, he said, a new vision will govern our land. It's going to be only America first.
Yeah.
And I heard that and I said, that's it. Like that. And it's because that really encapsulates who we are. When I say we and like our kind of people and they, the people that are against us, it's those that that have a sense of American identity, that it's about the American people and their history, their heritage, going all the way back even before the founding, before the settlement of the North American continent, where we come from, who we really are, and putting that first, that's the priority, explicitly identifying as Americans. And even, what was the point of the border wall? Yes, it's to keep foreigners out, but I thought it was bigger than that. It was a tangible representation that said, this is America. That is the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. It gave us definition in a physical way.
And this is why a lot of people, if you look back, there were plenty of politicians for decades prior to Trump that talked about a border wall. Remember when Hillary Clinton was questioned about it and she said, well, I wanted a border fence. Yeah, because there's a distinction without a difference. this is a classic example of why American nationalism is going to hit a fever pitch. Now, depending on how you look at nationalism, it can be in very dangerous hands. And in the case of Fuentes, the type of nationalism is one that will be used for political and economic gain. I am America first, but I'm America first in the way it's supposed to be. I support this country, and I support the people that are here. And yes, I am a hardliner on immigration. But why? Because multinational corporations do not give a flying fuck about the American people. They care about their bottom line and nothing else. That's why they bring people into this country to work for slave wage. Because if they could make us slaves, they would. The only way we fight back is through a labor movement. And in addition to that, I know you're not going to agree with me, Jen. Take that off, please. You see, Jen likes to throw me off when I start getting into something. It is imperative that we recognize what it is going to take in this country. It's a labor movement, period. Single-payer healthcare, a living wage, but that is predicated on having a system in which we have a jobs program. You know, jobs that we actually need, you know, things that are really important. What do we need? Welders, doctors, electricians, engineers. We don't need more administrators and stock traders and gamblers and military. That's what the powers that be want. When do we start thinking about our country? When do we start thinking about what we have to do in order to have a robust infrastructure that has high-speed rail and nuclear power? How are we going to get off of fossil fuels and hydraulic fracturing? How are we going to catch up to China? The only way we can, which is by prioritizing our country. China prioritizes their country. India prioritizes their country. A lot of countries like the one I'm in right now, Ireland, the Irish prioritize their people. Why can't we prioritize ours? I know we can. We have to be willing to put differences aside. That's imperative. So that's America first. It's not that complicated, guys. But people within positions of power and strength do not want that. Because the whole point of the capitalist system that is dying a very slow death right now, it's not about we the people. It's about we who can exploit the rest of the people. That's got to stop. There's plenty to go around. There's plenty of things that we need. So let's collectively work together to make it so. It's not that hard.
I said, that's who I am. I'm America first. And that's something that Ben Shapiro could not claim.
Right.
The Democrats could not claim. You could even say the capitalist class. And by those, not to sound communist, but the wealthy, the owners,
Right.
the people that own the multinational corporations, and they live everywhere. You know, they have houses in Europe and Asia and America. They do business everywhere. They could not even call themselves
Right.
America first. So whether
Because
it's
typically you think it's conservative and liberals, you know, and conservative over here, it's free trade, capitalism, you
Right.
know, like, and so, you know, or like a Ben Shapiro type, you know, like, oh, he's one of us. And those were kind of the dividing lines. And we're like, how come things just keep getting worse and worse? Like,
Right.
well, it's like, it's ping pong, but like both sides are really just two sides of the same coin. And you're right. Trump really, in a lot of ways, said like, the reason we keep losing is because both teams are against you. Both teams. Like that's not the paradigm, liberal conservative. The paradigm is the world or us.
Well, I would say that Webben hit it right on the head at the end. But again, the nationalist perspective that they are fighting from is one that I can't abide by because it's obvious that they have an agenda. but understand why their message is resonating. If you're not pushing an America First message, you will lose. Everyone will lose. Because it's either America First or America No More. And that future is not going to look anything like what it is right now. So we're going to have to make a conscious decision about what is going to come after this current broken economic and political system, because it's broken beyond repair. You can't fix it. What comes next is what we also have to be preparing for. And whatever Webben and Fuentes are selling, I can assure you, some of it's going to sound great, but a lot of it's going to suck. Don't fall for it. We've got a lot of work to do.